That's my gavel. Let's get going because we got a presentation tonight. We want to make sure we get through the presentation. Let's call the Finance Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kandala.
Here.
Alderman Knight. Alderman Coles.
Here.
Alderman Lewiton. Alderman Police.
Here.
Alderman Shockey.
Here.
Alderman Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Winger.
Here.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of August 14, 2008. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Today we got a special meeting with the special event manager. Are you Tony?
I'm Tony.
Okay. Tony is going to do a little presentation. In your packet, you guys received the info on this company, what they do and all that. And the reason why we are looking into this is because all the time with staff being tied up on other projects, this might be a better route to go, but that's going to be the council's decision. But Tony, if you want to give us a little presentation of your company and everything else there, that will be fine.
Absolutely, thank you. My name is Tony Abrascato. I'm the president of Special Events Management. Little background on our company. We've been in business for 20 years now. We started in 1988. We started out as an special events company specializing in helping not-for-profit organizations raise funds for their groups. What we would do is there we go. That's maybe a little much, but so our company really started out in trying to do fundraising for not-for-profit organizations, whether it be a business organization or different charities. The lupus, myeloma, lymphoma, breast cancer, a variety of other groups. We started out in the running business and doing 5K charitable walks. Today we have our charitable walk division and runs, which we just completed last weekend, the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Walk. We've got the United Negro College Fund this weekend. So there's a variety of different events. And we branched out into the scope into producing special events, festivals, street fairs, concerts. Today, 20 years later, we raise between $13 and $16 million for not-for-profit organizations, all through the management of special events that we're talking about that you hold here in Wooddale. Our company has extensive experience in dealing with a variety of different municipalities. We produce events. We've produced events in Brookfield as well as Naperville, Downers Grove, Wheeling, Evanston, a variety of the suburbs as well as the city of Chicago. The presentation that you have in front of you was really based off of some conversations that I had with your staff in relation to your festival and your event and some of the goals, trying to achieve it and trying to make it bigger and better and trying to bring greater opportunity into the residents of Wooddale to come out and have some fun and experience the community as a whole. What our group would plan to do is work closely to develop specific goals and objectives once the plan would be approved, and then work to implement the budget and the plan. One of the things that our company does, and it allows different groups to do, is really focus on what they're supposed to do, either raising money, running their chamber of commerce, running their village hall, versus worrying about porta-johns, dumpsters, bands, riders, getting the different permits for some of the municipalities. And so that's where our team comes in. We have a staff of 23 full-time people that work with us year-round. We produce between 100 and 125 events a year, ranging from the smallest festival of 5,000 people to our largest, which is 150,000 people in 2 days, North Halsted Market Days. So again, in front of you, what we try to do is put together a general proposal, which would be where basically we would manage the logistical operations, the marketing and promotion of the event. We would implement media plans as well as advertising plans, graphic design, and then also as well as targeting in different bands and groups that we would also do the booking for. Our entertainment division books between 400 and 600 bands a year for the different events that we produce, and they range everywhere from your next door neighbor's kid that plays out of their garage to top international and national talent. We've produced the concert series out at the Morton Arboretum. We just had national entertainment there, and so we have a variety of different abilities that we'd like to bring to the table. The budget that we outlined for you is a very rough and kind of a free form of a budget that would really go through what an average event of the size that is being projected would look like. The nice thing about this is that there's many opportunities when we work with the municipalities especially to offset some of these charges. So if there's an opportunity to use public works staff for some of the grounds work versus bringing in employees, or if it's security, using the police officers instead of security, there's ways to offset the different expenses here, and then those are simply removed from the budget, lowering the overall expense. We also have the income columns as we draw more people into the event and have an opportunity of beverage sales. We talked about a carnival being added, as well as food vendors and arts and craft vendors that would be involved in the event. So that would help offset those expenses. So as it relates to the net expense that's projected for this event, it's relatively similar to what you've expensed in the years past, or specifically last year. It's not far from that. The gross expense is obviously larger, but has the income to offset that. What I'd like to do is just really open this up to see if there's any specific questions that I might be able to answer for you, or if there were specific questions on the proposal or the budget that we could go through so that we could have the most efficient use of your time. Certainly if there's any questions about our company or what we do, I can address that as well.
We have any questions? Mr. Mayor?
I noticed, looking at your letter of agreement, that you propose a 3-night event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we thought perhaps to get a carnival, we might have to go to 4 nights. What's your experience on that? And if we have to go to 4, is that included in your proposal in the cost?
Mayor, what we often do with the municipalities is that if there is a carnival that comes in, and oftentimes they do like a 4th night, you're correct. Often what we'll do is run the carnival on the 4th night, or the very first night, and then the event comes in on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th day. So the event itself would only run for 3 days, but the carnival would run for 4 days. And what we've done out in Brookfield and some other areas is that night was more of like a community night. Families could come out and purchase a bracelet, or there was half-price ticketing or something, so that the community could really come out and enjoy that aspect of the event prior to the rest of the event starting.
Any other questions? Mr. Nuzio?
So you would bring in the carnival. Who handles all the ticket sales? Does the carnival handle that? We need volunteers for that kind of stuff, or is that all included in the fee, or what's?
Typically, the carnival is self-contained. What we would do, though, is we would manage with them the counting in and counting out of tickets at the end of the night to say, they started with these 10 rolls of tickets, they ended up with 8, and so we've sold 2 rolls. That's the money that should be there and accounted for. So we would interact with the carnival company. It would be a turnkey operation.
So it's not like we need, say, 10 volunteers a night or something.
No, you would not. The only opportunity there would be if you wanted to, in the beverage booths, the beer and wine and soft drinks and water, if you wanted to staff that with volunteers versus us bringing in paid staff, that's, again, another opportunity to offset expense in the budget. You could certainly do that, but it's not required as part of our proposal, and that's why we included that line item in the budget.
As far as the beverage, so you guys would supply all the beverage, is that what you're saying? And then the volunteers, we could have volunteers run it? Is it?
Correct. What we would typically do is we put in a one beverage manager that is paid staff that has experience from our team. They would train the people that are going to be working in the booth, and then they would volunteer for that night. We would also work with the local distributors and typically Anheuser-Busch or Miller on a national or regional level, that they would actually become a sponsor of the event, and that's where part of the sponsorship dollars for the event would come in as well. So they would provide sponsorship dollars, they would provide product as well as the equipment, which is key. Oftentimes, if for some reason there's not an opportunity for them to provide dollars, we still have them come in and provide the equipment so we don't have to purchase or rent that, and then the product we would buy from them, and those expenses are reflected in the back of the budget.
I have a couple questions. The
Absolutely.
proposed budget that you put in for us, and there's a lot of stuff in here that, you got generators in here and that. I know we could get generators cheaper, because with your proposal here, if I am mistaken, it was like $3,000 or something like that.
There's a couple of things that we do with our budgets in general.
Okay.
And so if there's an opportunity to either reduce costs, if you have a preferred vendor that you'd like us to use and those costs are less, then we use that vendor. Oftentimes, if we're in a park or we're off of a public street, the city of Chicago, for instance, will pull electrical drops off of the street lamps, and so we need no generators. So we just reverse that out. Our goal here, and the way that we structure this, if you notice, we don't have an incentive to charge you more. We don't get paid off of the expenses. We don't take a percentage of the expenses. So our goal is to kind of work with you to reduce those expenses. We had one of the mayors in a neighboring town in Elk Grove Village that was able to get waste management services donated. So we were able to take that out of.
Well, right, we get that.
Right, and so, if you come back with waste management and they'll provide the dumpsters for free, then we, just zero it out in the budget and go through. And our goal would be to try to work with staff in going through and saying, what line items can we take out of this budget?
Okay, the other question is, I noticed for advertising sponsorship, I noticed if you go out and get it, you get, what was it?
17%.
17%. So you pretty much go out and get the sponsorships.
I have a full-time sponsorship department, sales department. They're paid off of straight commission, and so they go out. They go out, and actually I go out. I think personally I sold about $600,000 or $700,000 worth of sponsorship this year. We actually go out and we look for national and regional sponsors. We have a relationship with ad agencies and marketing agencies around the country, so that we may come in and talk to a company that's doing a dog food promotion, and they say, we're going to be in Chicago in the second week of August or the third week of August. Which events do you have? And because we produce 100 different events, they typically will call into us, and then we call back into them and say, here's our lineup for the year. So we're able to pull in not only just some local banks and insurance companies, but actually some larger national sponsors as well.
And then the food vendors you go out and get to, or?
Yes. We would go out and solicit those. Two different tacks on that. One is to try to work very locally here to see if we can get local businesses and local restaurants to participate in the event. That's always the most advantageous, and it gives you a nice flavor of the community. If for some reason it can be daunting for them to participate, or they don't want to participate, we have a database of over 13,000 vendors that we solicit on an annual basis, that we could actually bring in the food vendors. We would do the same with arts and crafts and different vendors, that we could actually have an area where people could come and buy jewelry and art and things.
Jeff, maybe you can answer this. The fee that they're asking for, is that counting every event in the city, or is that just counting this big event?
The contract in front of you is exclusively for the Summer Jubilee, Summer Days, the one summer event, the big event.
Okay,
It has
so that
nothing to
is-
do with any other
Okay.
special events.
Okay. Alderman Shork.
Can you tell me how much input we would have, for instance, in the entertainment, the bands and so forth?
You can have as much or as little as you would like. We take the direction from our clients as to what they would like to see. We'll make recommendations from our experience as what we would see and in the programming of the event. But typically, we take the direction from the client as to what you would like to see. We're very sensitive to each one of the communities and who's participating in the event. So oftentimes, we'll come in and suggest that we start out, more family-oriented and a little softer in the morning, and then we build up in the afternoon, and then you have a headliner at night that brings in larger crowds and folks that are buying food and drinking beer and wine and taking part of the beverages. And so we slot that out depending on what the particular event would require.
Also, have you taken a look at our town, the areas we have available?
Yes.
And where do you think we should have an event like this?
Well, the one area in particular, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember the directions exactly, but Jeff, perhaps, or Mimi, you could assist me. But the parcel of property that's just down from Village Hall, across from the, thank you, is where there was the parkland and then the street and some businesses across on that street. That was the area that we looked at when we were out here the last time and looking at holding the event there.
So that's by Commercial and Wooddale Road then? Okay.
And our initial thought was minimally that we would back the stage up on the road itself, on the street, and the music stage would be back in there, and the other activities would be in the park area. And then depending on part of what we would do as well is depending on cooperation of the businesses that are there, and there's a large parking lot leading into the building that's off the street. If there's cooperation there, in many cases we've had the opportunity where we would move that stage back into their parking lot area, and so it would allow for the parking lot and the street, and then people could also sit in the park to view the music. And that was at least our initial thought. But again, where we take the direction of our client as to what they would like to see, and then we would work to identify a specific spot if that wasn't satisfactory.
Are we, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking at here as to, for instance, getting rid of mosquitoes and so forth. Is that our responsibility, or do you do something in that area as well?
We can do something in that area. Again, that would be something that would be added to the budget as a line item. So what we would try to do is work with staff here to coordinate mosquito spraying and spray before the event time.
And my last question is that bottom line, I understand that's really not what we're talking about, hopefully. And I'm just wondering, when we budget things like this, we usually have a maximum amount that we allow for the item. And I'd like, just like Alderman Wesley perhaps, to figure out how we would do that and what the cost would be actually.
I think, Jeff, go ahead. You can answer.
Yeah, Alderman, what we're actually doing tonight is we're just retaining Special Events Management as our planning firm for the event. We're not establishing the events budget. That's just a loose representation of what it could be. The only cost tonight is the $22,000 that we're locked into for having them plan the event.
That's correct. So this budget could ultimately alter a great deal, again, with dumpsters and volunteers and electrical services coming through. You could also come to us and, look at the entertainment budget and say, that might be a little steep in our first year. We want to do something different with that, so we can adjust that budget as we go through. And once we would go through that process and identify it, then any adjustments that would be made to that approved budget, if you will, then would require written notice in advance and memorandum and then acceptance on your behalf, so that if you came back to us and said, oh, no, we want the Doobie Brothers, and we want you to go out and spend, $225,000 to bring the Doobie Brothers in, we'd make a revision note to the budget, you'd sign off on it, and then that's what we would do. But once that final budget's in place, then that's kind of your guarantee, if you will, of the dollars that would be spent. You're welcome.
I think the whole thing, Dan, where you're looking at is 118. That's what, if they do the whole entire project and not use any of our stuff at all.
Well,
That's what I'm looking
That is actually, and if there was no income.
Right, if there
Because
was
that's
no
the,
income,
that's the
right.
gross expenses.
Right.
So if there was no income at all, that would be your,
Right.
your liability, so to speak.
And then the bands, we pretty much give you some ideas what we want to see and all that.
You can do it in a variety of different ways. You can talk about the style of music that you would like. We work with, West Chicago has Railroad Days, and they like a cross-representation between some of the rock bands, country music bands, and then they have a large Hispanic population. And so that we work with bringing in Hispanic bands and Tejano and mariachi bands and a variety of different, at different times during the event, so that one night might be Hispanic, the next night would be general market.
So more or less, one of our staff will be part of, designated to you and tell you
Right.
what we want.
We typically would ask that there be one liaison back, and then in turn, we would assign an event manager from our organization that would work with that staff member.
I think, okay, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try to get the Rolling Stones for that weekend. I don't know if they're available.
I'm sure we can find a cover band, though, that'll play the Stones music.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, we'd need a recommendation from committee, and then we'll officially approve during council.
Okay, I'll make the motion to hire special events management for our Summerfest.
Not to exceed $22,000?
Plus 17% for sponsorship commissions.
Right.
Not to exceed $22,000
Plus
plus 17% sponsorship
Sponsorship.
for the ones you bring in.
Correct. If,
Not the ones we bring in.
If the city brings in their own sponsors, and that would be at no commission fee.
Okay. So we have a motion. Mimi, did you get the motion?
Yes, hire special events management for our summer event not to exceed 22,000 with sponsorship at 17%.
Right. Have a motion, secondary agree?
I'll agree.
All in favor? Aye.
I think we should have a roll call, shouldn't we, Mayor?
A roll call is not required because you're making a recommendation to the
Okay,
council.
all right, okay.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? One oppose. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just one thing, we do have a good cover band for the Eagles,
Okay,
you're familiar with?
excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.